My name is Claire, I'm 36, and I live alone in a quiet house just outside Portland, Oregon. I always loved the peace that came with solitude, until that silence was broken in a way I will never forget. But before we begin, please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. A few weeks ago, my parents and my younger brother, Adam, left for a 5-day cruise to the Bahamas. They asked me to watch their 7-year-old daughter, Lena, a little girl who, for all her life, had never spoken a single word. I said yes, without hesitation. I mean, I adored her. Lena was always glued to her bunny plushie, big brown eyes like she saw everything, even if she never said anything. People said she was nonverbal, but I always wondered if there was more. The moment the front door clicked shut behind them, the house settled into its usual quiet. Just me and Lena. She walked in slowly, eyes scanning the room like she was memorizing everything. Then, something happened that made my blood run cold. Lena stopped walking. She turned, looked straight at me with those wide, knowing eyes, and said in a voice so clear it felt unreal, "Aunt Claire, please don't drink the vitamin powder Mom packed for you. She has a plan." My knees nearly buckled. "Lena," I crouched down, my hands trembling as I touched her shoulders. "Did you just speak?" She nodded. And then whispered, "I've always been able to. But Mom said if I ever talked without her permission, she'd make me go away. Forever." My stomach twisted. 7 years. 7 years of silence. And the first words out of her mouth were to warn me. She had been silent for fear. And now she was speaking to save my life. If you're still here, let me know in the comments, what would you do if the person you trusted most turned out to be hiding something this big? I'd really love to know what you'd feel in that moment. I held her close, her tiny arms shaking. "Why now?" I asked. "Because this is the first time she's not watching." And just like that, the clock started ticking. I had 5 days until they returned. 5 days to figure out just how far this rabbit hole went. Don't go anywhere. In the next part, I'll tell you what I found hidden in a pink-painted bedroom and why Lena was never supposed to speak again. I followed Lena upstairs, my legs weak, my chest tight with fear and something deeper, betrayal. She walked ahead of me without speaking, without looking back, her small hand trailing along the wall like she was grounding herself. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I still wasn't sure if I was dreaming. But then she led me into the guest room, the one I'd painted pink for her visits years ago. "This way," she said quietly. I watched as she knelt beside the bed and started tugging at a loose piece of the baseboard. My heart pounded in my ears. She didn't fumble. Her fingers were confident. She had done this before. "I keep them here," she whispered, prying it open and pulling out a tightly folded plastic bag. Only the ones she wouldn't notice were missing. I took it with shaking hands, sat down on the edge of the bed, and slowly opened it. Inside were just a few sheets of paper, at first glance, nothing special. But then I looked closer. A shipment receipt for supplements. Bulk orders. Enough to doll someone for a year. Then 2 handwritten pages in Bria's unmistakable script: start low, monitor effects, target, confusion, fatigue, slow response. No names, just symptoms and calculations. The third paper was the worst. A timeline. March, introduce blend. May, symptoms, forgetfulness, misplaced items. August, increased dosage. October, peak effects during cruise. I felt like throwing up. It wasn't just paranoia. She had a plan. And she was executing it, perfectly. I turned to Lena. She was watching me, wide-eyed. "Did you understand all this?" She nodded. I watched her. She never thought I'd tell anyone. She always called me her silent little decoration. My throat burned. "Why didn't you tell your dad?" Her lip quivered. "He doesn't want to know. He looks away, even when he knows something's wrong." I reached for her, pulled her into my arms. You're not a decoration, Lena. You're the bravest girl I've ever known. She sniffled, gripping her bunny tighter. There's something else, she whispered. She reached into the baseboard again and pulled out one last paper, folded and worn at the edges. A DNA test. 0% probability. Adam is not Lena's biological father. I stared at it in disbelief. I found it a year ago, Lena whispered. She printed it and cried for hours. I don't think Dad ever saw it. Everything tilted. The silence. The cold stares. The obsession with control. The resentment. I held her tighter. It doesn't matter, I said. You're still my family. You always will be. This is getting heavier than I ever imagined. If you've ever had someone you love hide something massive from you, tell me, how did you even begin to rebuild trust? I'm listening. We went downstairs and laid the papers out on the dining table. My fingers trembled as I called an old friend, Dr. Blake. He agreed to come by the next morning to run tests on me, privately. If there was anything inside those supplements, we'd find out. Lena sat quietly across from me, her bunny in her lap, her eyes alert. What do we do now? She asked. We get proof. And then, I took a deep breath, we take back control. You won't believe what we found the next morning. And what Lena risked to protect me will break your heart. That's all coming in part 3. Morning sunlight crept across the floor as Lena sat at the kitchen table coloring quietly, her voice silent again, but only out of necessity. There was tension in her shoulders, but her eyes still held that spark of courage I couldn't stop admiring. Dr. Roger Blake, my college friend, arrived just after 10, medical bag in hand. I had told him over the phone that I'd been feeling off. Foggy, forgetful, detached. But I hadn't told him why. Not yet. He drew the blood right there at the kitchen counter, carefully, professionally. Lena watched from the doorway, her bunny in her arms like a shield. Claire, Roger said gently, sealing the last vial. You sure you're okay? I hesitated. Then I told him everything, low voice, trembling hands, from the moment Lena spoke to what we'd found hidden upstairs. His expression changed instantly, his concern sharpened into something fierce. If there's anything unnatural in your blood work, we'll know tomorrow. After he left, I turned to Lena. We have one shot at this. If she comes back and suspects anything, she'll hide the rest. I can help, she said softly. She followed me to the hallway closet, where I pulled out an old black digital recorder, tiny, but powerful. We're going to record her. Everything. Her words will betray her. Lena's eyes sparkled with something I hadn't seen before. Hope. That evening, right on schedule, Bria, my sister-in-law, called. Hey, Claire, she said cheerfully through the screen. How's our little Lena? How are you feeling? I rubbed my temple, let my voice falter just enough. Tired, honestly. Started the vitamins. Felt kind of weird since. Her eyes sharpened. She leaned closer. Weird how? Like dizzy? Forgetful? I gave vague answers. She nodded slowly, then smiled. Don't worry, it's just the adjustment phase. Your brain's just flushing out toxins. Trust me, you'll feel brand new in a few days. Her voice dripped with sweetness, but it coated something bitter. She was checking her progress. Like I was an experiment. When the call ended, Lena was staring at me, mouth slightly open. She believed you. She did. And for the first time in days, we smiled at each other, just a little. This is the kind of moment where trust becomes a weapon. Have you ever had to pretend for your own safety? Let me know in the comments, I won't judge. Sometimes pretending is surviving. Over the next 2 days, we rehearsed. I practiced slurring words, forgetting names. Lena practiced staying quiet until the right moment. She was brilliant. Focused. And so determined it made me want to cry. She thinks you're too far gone already, Lena whispered one night. She won't expect anything. Exactly, I said. Then, just as the plan was taking shape, Roger called. Claire, he said. Your blood work came back. There are multiple sedatives and neurological inhibitors in your system. If you'd kept taking them for another week. I sat down hard. He didn't need to finish the sentence. I had the proof. She had been drugging me slowly, quietly, building my decline day by day. I turned to Lena, voice steady now. It's time. She nodded. Let's catch her. What happens when the predator walks right back into the trap? Part 4 will leave you breathless. Stay close. It's almost time. Sunday afternoon, I heard the tires crunching up the driveway. Lena was cross-legged on the rug, surrounded by coloring books. I sank into the old armchair, hair loose, sleeve wrinkled, eyes half-lidded like I hadn't slept. My heart beat like a war drum, but outside, I looked just tired. The front door burst open. A rush of tropical air, perfume, voices, laughter. My parents walked in first, arms full of cruise souvenirs. Adam followed with bags in each hand. And then Bria swept in, glowing from the vacation sun, crisp white linen dress, expensive sandals clicking on the hardwood. She saw me and smiled like a nurse greeting a patient. Claire, oh honey. You look exhausted. Are you all right? I blinked slowly. Hey. Welcome back. The trip good? She dropped her bag on the coffee table, sat across from me. Her expression was soft. Warm. Carefully measured. You don't seem well. How's your memory been? Did you finish the vitamins? I mumbled. Most of them. I think they're working. Some days I feel weird. Her smile widened, false sympathy painted perfectly on her lips. It's just your body adjusting. I've been thinking, Claire, there's this wonderful place I've read about. Just outside town. Like a resort but with professional care. I tilted my head. A care home, she clarified, voice syrupy. Private, discreet. They'd take care of everything. Even your finances. No more stress. And with how you've been lately, forgetting things, missing calls, it might be time. I swallowed hard. She leaned in, eyes gleaming just enough for me to catch it. I've spoken to an advisor already. One signature, and the family trust can transition under shared control. For your sake. For everyone's peace of mind. Lena's crayon paused. Adam stood near the hallway, awkward, silent. Our parents listened from the kitchen, not fully understanding the weight in the room. Bria reached into her purse. I even brought the paperwork to get things started. That's when Lena stood. She walked calmly to the bookshelf, pulled out a small black recorder, and clicked play. A soft beep. Then Bria's voice echoed clearly through the room. She looks exhausted. Poor thing. How's her memory? Did she drink all the powder? Bria's face went white. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Then Lena, her voice louder than I'd ever heard, said, I can talk. I always could. You just scared me into silence. Gasps. The world tilted. Bria, I said quietly. It's over. She stammered. She's confused. She doesn't know what she's saying. Claire, you made her say this. I pulled out the printed papers from the drawer. Supplement orders. Doses. Her handwriting. Her timeline. Her plan. I also have the lab results. You were drugging me. Adam stared at her like he'd never seen her before. Bria turned to my parents. They're making it up. This is some kind of setup. And then Lena stepped forward again. I heard your phone calls. I read the papers. You wanted Aunt Claire gone. If you were in this room, witnessing this, what would you do? Would you freeze? Would you defend someone? Let me know how you'd handle this moment, because it's the kind of silence that changes lives. My fingers tightened around my phone. I'm calling the police. No, wait, Claire, don't. But it was too late. 911, what's your emergency? Yes. I need officers at 147 Westfield Lane. Attempted harm. Child abuse. We have recordings. Proof. Please hurry. Bria collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing, mascara running. Adam, do something. She's tearing our family apart. Adam didn't move. He just whispered, what did you do? And Lena? She stood there, not shaking, not crying. Just, brave. Unshaken. You're not ready for what happens when the cops arrive. In part 5, the final piece falls into place, and Lena says something in the courtroom that changed everything. Don't miss it. The sirens were soft at first, respectful of the quiet neighborhood. 2 police cars parked at the curb, engines humming. Bria looked like she might faint. An officer stepped through the doorway with calm authority. Ma'am, please stay seated. We'll be asking some questions. I handed over everything. The recordings. The printouts. Roger's medical report. The papers Lena had hidden for months. As the officers listened, Bria kept repeating, this is a mistake. This is all being twisted. But Lena stood tall. She spoke to the child specialist officer with perfect clarity. Calm. Truthful. Brave. She told me never to talk. She said if I did, I'd disappear. She gave Aunt Claire things to drink that made her sleepy. I saw her write about it. Bria was arrested on the spot, gently, respectfully, but decisively. Adam went with the police voluntarily, too stunned to argue. Our parents sat frozen, holding their teacups, unable to speak. When the door finally closed behind the officers, the house fell still again. But this time, it felt like freedom. The days that followed blurred. Interviews. Court appointments. Therapy sessions for Lena. Questions from Child Protective Services, lawyers, and detectives. I told the full truth, every part of it. The hardest moment? Facing Adam at the custody hearing. He looked like a ghost. Ashamed. Hollow. I knew something felt wrong, he whispered. But I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to lose everything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, you already did. He lost parental rights that day. The court granted me full legal custody of Lena. And I swore I'd never let her feel alone again. Weeks passed. The pink room became her sanctuary again, only now it was filled with books, sunlight, and laughter. Her voice, once buried in silence, now danced freely through the halls. One spring morning, her new school held an assembly. Each child had to share something personal. When it was Lena's turn, she walked to the front of the stage, stood straight, and read from a card in her hand. My voice was quiet for a long time. Not because I couldn't talk, but because I was scared. But I spoke when it mattered. And because I did, someone I love is safe. I learned that being silent doesn't protect anyone. But telling the truth can save a life. The auditorium fell silent. Then came applause. Cheers. Her classmates jumped to their feet. I stood in the back, crying for the first time in weeks, not from fear or grief, but from something softer. Pride. Relief. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Later that night, Lena curled up beside me on the couch. Her bunny, Mr. Whiskers, tucked under one arm. Do you think I could help other kids one day? She asked. I looked at her, really looked at her. Her eyes weren't afraid anymore. I think you already have. The truth is, we survived something dark, And yes, it left scars, but it also lit a fire that will never go out. So to anyone watching this, if your gut tells you something is wrong, trust it. If a child seems quiet, listen harder. Because silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes, silence is the loudest scream. Lena's courage saved us both. And maybe, her voice can help someone else find their own.